let's talk about a few news stories. One just came up from the discussion in this class, which I didn't notice. There's a free OneTrust Privacy Professional Certification, free classes. So that's a good thing to do. I probably have to do it myself. I'm going to be a OneTrust administrator within about a week or two here. So I'm going to be starting training and probably be flying solo in about 6 weeks as the OneTrust administrator, so I got to learn it. Anyway, here's other news articles that I thought were interesting. This one is really important. Again, for my private consulting, people need this, and I just heard they just had OpenAI, just had a developers event, and they released a whole bunch of new products. And this is the one. Scott Galloway, a famous online celebrity, said he put his team in to make a chatbot in his voice, and it took them like months to do it, but this week, now you can do it in like an hour, because they just made made a wizard to just do it automatically. And so for the demonstration, this guy goes to make a chatbot that will make jokes about otters. It will only tell you visuals for new, I would like to only share interesting trivia and fun facts about otters. And it will immediately make a logo and do that. You don't need to give it any more information than that. And you can also upload all your data and have it look only in this data, which is what everybody really wants. Everybody wants to make a AI-powered search engine to search your data, your company data or whatever you have. And so I'm going to make a project out of this. You do have to have the pay version of OpenAI, which is $20 a month. So I'm going to pay it and do it, and then make a project out of it. It will really cost students $20, but we really got to get into this. This is the best. By the way, I wondered if Bard was competitive with OpenAI, and it absolutely is not. Yes, here's the one. I'm glad this here. There's now a scientific test. You know, hallucinations are probably the worst problem. When you ask it a question, it just tells you random lies. And they measured how many hallucinations there are, and it is a big difference. GPT-4, which is OpenAI, has a hallucination rate of 3%. The Google products have a hallucination rate of 30%. It is awful. So really getting OpenAI's GPT-4 is absolutely the thing to do. All the rest are much worse. So I'll put this in my machine learning course after I do it myself, and I'm hoping to have it there by this Saturday. It should be pretty easy to make a bot that reads the data you send up, and that's what all my corporate clients want. They want to make a custom bot that will search through like their policies, their documents, and help people find things relevant to their business, not just general random junk on the internet, but stuff relevant to their business. And they also put it in an Amazon instance that is isolated, so it's not publicly available, and it's not leaking their data to the world. That's what everybody wants. And apparently that is now easy to do.
It's the plus, right?
Yes, you have to get the plus.
And it says sign up for a wait list.
Oh, I didn't know there's a wait list. Well, now that's rude. Charging money and then making you wait on a wait list. That's un-American. I didn't think such a thing could happen. ChatGPT Plus, well, how rude. Well, maybe I won't have it up. That's an obstacle, but I guess I'll sign up anyway and see how long it takes. But, well, you know, they do limit the access because it takes a lot of server process. Although they announced recently, it's Microsoft Copilot that announced that their prices are now that they actually make money on it. The rest of these guys are all running at a loss. And in fact, I avoided, yeah, go ahead.
I just got something about that on my Hewlett Packard. It says pre-Copilot with Bing Chat.
Yeah, if you have Windows, you will have Windows Copilot built into Windows if you just put on Windows updates. And it's very powerful.
I don't.
And it does use OpenAI because Microsoft invested in OpenAI. So that's another way to get some access to it, but you don't get these advanced features. You get the free version or whatever that is. Anyway, but we got to all get used to it. Let's see if I skipped one. No, I saw it. Okay. So anyway, I'm going to try and get the plus, but maybe I'll have to wait a while to get it. This I thought was pretty useful too. Some company called GISGuard will security test your AI models, which is something they need. And they will test your AI model. It will design tests, and it's an open source, and it generates a test suite. And the tests will check for performance, hallucinations, misinformation, non-factual output, biases, data leakage, harmful content generation, and prompt injection. So those are sort of the top 10 problems, and it will test to see if you have those problems. So this seems like something that everybody's going to need as they're all spinning up these AIs. And again, I'll probably send my corporate clients here They say, once you make this thing, you better run it through these tests to check it. I was just writing guidance for them in the last couple days, and I said, don't jump into AI, make a closed small model and thoroughly test it first, because there are risks, and even more, I think the main risk is it might just be a waste of time. It might be more effective to do whatever you're doing without an AI. Just that it's trendy doesn't necessarily mean it's a good thing to have. So there's one in Britain with the National Institute of Health. They have all sorts of useful health data, and they found that they could take historical data from people that are complaining of chest pain, and they can predict heart attacks up to 10 years in the future more than a doctor can. And so they're making a tool based on AI to help a doctor evaluate the symptoms. And this is, a lot of these things are coming around. Also x-rays and NMR scans. The AIs are better at looking at those blurry pictures and deciding whether you've got cancer or other problems. So this, I think there's a lot of benefit to come out of this, AI-enhanced medical diagnostics. This was a scary thing. There was a vulnerability in Bitcoin.js, a popular JavaScript package used to create Bitcoin wallet addresses. And what happened, this is what scared me, is how it happened. They wrote this thing, and it ran in the browser using JavaScript random number generation, but then as browsers changed, the version of JavaScript libraries changed, so the random number function they called stopped existing, and apparently, if that happens, your software will just continue to run without giving an error message, and you don't notice that it's no longer getting that random number. So what happened is they tried to combine several random number sources, and as time passed, some of those sources stopped working, and the random numbers stopped being so random. So there's only 40 bits, so now you can guess the numbers. And the wallets that were created between 2011 and 2015 with browser-based software, a bunch of them are using non-random numbers, and people can steal your money. And I wonder how much other browser-based software is just going to gradually stop working with no evidence, no error message. It appears to work. This is a concern. I would have thought that if the function vanishes, it'll stop popping up error messages, but apparently not. Probably not unless you thought to put error handling in your code. And I don't think very many developers think of putting error handling in to check if the function no longer exists. In other languages like C, that would automatically create an error when you call a function that doesn't exist. So anyway, but I found JavaScript to be an extremely dangerous and hostile language to work in. Anyway, and let's see what the best one was. This is a nice one, a list of supply chain threats with a list of real examples of these supply chain threats. Nice, interesting examples. So here's the kind of things that have really happened. They've got unauthorized changes to the source code, which is what I always thought of as the supply chain threat. They compromised the source repo and injected 2 commits, built from modified source to use a compromised dependency, compromised the build process. That's what happened with SolarWinds. During the build, they injected extra code, not in the official source code branch, which is even more subtle. That was the Russians, and they got into most American companies with it, and they're probably still in. Upload a modified package that doesn't match the build process, compromise the package registry in the mirrors. This one happened to Ubuntu years ago. About 10 years ago, Ubuntu had distribution servers, and to save money, they had let random clubs run their own server mirrors, and some of them used unencrypted FTP and had insecure mirrors, so you would get an insecure, altered copy of the files. And anyway, so it's nice to see the examples here. And this is what I was just talking about. The dependency becomes unavailable. Normally, that would make something stop working, but apparently in the browser, it just keeps working. It just is wrong now, which is much worse. Anyway, so there's a few news stories.